Many of your moves in a chess game will create a threat, such as a check or an attack against an unprotected enemy piece. In normal circumstances, your opponent may well be able to deal with such a threat. However, if you can create two threats at once, your opponent could be in trouble. You can only make one move at a time, and so it might not be possible to deal with two threats at the same time. A move which creates two threats is called a fork. The most common example of a fork, and often the most difficult to deal with, is when one of the threats is a threat to the enemy king. That is a check. One of the best pieces for creating forks is the knight. In this example, white plays knight e7 with check. The knight on e7 checks the king on g8, whilst also threatening the black queen on g6. Black must move the king, and then white will capture the black queen for a mere knight, which will result in an easy victory. Here are some other examples of forks. A pawn fork. Black has placed the knight and bishop on clumsy squares, and now, after e4, the knight and bishop are forked. Black will lose a piece for just a pawn. A bishop fork. Here black's king and queen find themselves unhappily aligned on the a2-g8 diagonal. White plays bishop d5 with check and forks the king and queen. Note that the white bishop is protected by the knight on c3. So queen take d5 is met by knight take d5. White wins the queen for just a bishop. A queen fork. This position shows that even the best players in the world can sometimes overlook a fork. This position occurred in a game between the American Grandmaster Larry Christensen, playing white, and ex-world champion Anatoly Karpov, playing black. Karpov has just developed his bishop to d6. This was revealed as a horrible blunder when his opponent replied queen d1, forking the knight on h5 and bishop on d6, and winning a clear piece. At this level, the gain of a piece is always decisive, and Karpov resigned at once. Our opponents are not always quite so generous as to line themselves up for the knockout blow. Sometimes we have to give them a helping hand by luring their pieces onto vulnerable squares. This position occurred in the 1966 World Championship match between Tigran Petrosian, playing white, and Boris Spassky, black. A piece count will reveal that white, although he has an extra pawn, is a rook for knight down. He can regain this immediately with knight take f7, but he found a much better idea in the form of queen h8 check, which sets up a winning fork. After king take h8 and knight take f7 check, white goes on to capture the black queen and will be a piece up.